booked the place because it had good lighting. I know that sounds shallow. I'm a product photographer. Natural light through wide windows isn't a luxury. It's a line item. The listing showed a second-floor apartment in Asheville, North Carolina. Exposed brick, east-facing windows, a kitchen island I could use as a secondary surface. 3 nights, I had 16 products to shoot. I brought my own backdrops. I did not bring anyone else. That detail matters. The host, Marcus, 4.9 stars, 80-something reviews, sent a door code and a 3-paragraph welcome message about parking and the trash schedule. Normal stuff. I arrived Thursday evening around 6, hauled my gear up a narrow staircase, and let myself in. The apartment was fine. Better than fine, honestly. The windows were exactly what the photos promised. The brick caught the late light in a way that made me think I might actually enjoy this trip. I did a walkthrough, living room, kitchen, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. A utility closet near the front door with a breaker box and a mop. Everything matched the floor plan Marcus had attached to the booking. One of those hand-drawn diagrams some hosts include, with little labeled boxes for each room. I made a note of the angles I wanted in the morning. I ordered Thai food. I was in bed by 10. I slept fine. That first night, I slept completely fine. Friday morning, I woke before 6, which is normal for me on a shoot. I made coffee in the kitchen and walked the space again in the new light, the way I always do, getting reacquainted. Shadows move. Walls you thought were neutral turn warm. You have to look again. I was crossing from the kitchen back toward the bedroom. I was going to grab my light meter when I noticed the hallway. It was to the left of the bathroom. A narrow corridor running toward the back of the building, maybe 12 feet long at the far end. A door, plain, white painted, old-looking, with a round brass knob that had gone slightly green at the edges. I stopped. I thought, I walked past that last night. I must have. It's right there. But I hadn't walked past it. I had walked past the bathroom. I had noted the utility closet. There was no hallway in the floor plan. I had looked at the floor plan. I set my coffee down on the kitchen island and went back to my phone to pull up Marcus's diagram. I zoomed in on the corner where the bathroom sat. The diagram ended there, a small square marked bath, and then a thick line indicating an exterior wall. I walked back to the hallway. It was still there. Look, I want to be precise about this, because I've had a lot of time to think about whether I was sleep-deprived or disoriented or whatever explanation makes it less strange. The hallway was there. It was carpeted in the same short pile gray carpet as the rest of the apartment. The walls matched. The paint was the same slightly off-white. It did not look new. It did not look added. It looked like it had always been there, but it hadn't been there the night before. I would have walked into it in the dark when I went to the bathroom at 2 in the morning. I had not walked into it. I had gone straight from the bedroom door to the bathroom. Straight. I messaged Marcus. Hey, is there a back hallway near the bathroom? Wasn't sure if it was mentioned anywhere. I went back to setting up my shoot. I told myself it was nothing. Old buildings do strange things. The floor plan was probably just incomplete. Some hosts draw those from memory, he replied at 10:43. No hallway, just the 1 main room layout. Everything okay? I stared at that for a while. I typed back. All good, thanks. Just getting oriented. I did not go down the hallway that morning. I shot products. I did the white seamless backdrop first, then moved to the brick wall. The light was everything I'd hoped. I was professional. I was focused. I did not look at the hallway. Around 2 in the afternoon, I had to go to the bathroom. I walked past the hallway entrance. From the corner of my eye, I could see it. The gray carpet, the narrowing perspective, the door at the far end with its greenish brass knob. I used the bathroom and came back out and made myself stop. I made myself turn and look directly at it. 12 feet, maybe 14. The door at the end was closed. The knob was different. This is the part I have gone back and forth on, because I'd only glanced at it that morning for maybe 30 seconds, but the knob had been centered on the door, round. positioned where a knob would normally sit, roughly waist height. It was lower now, I was certain, not 90%, not probably, certain. The knob sat below what would be a normal height, maybe hip height, maybe lower. I went back to my chute and did not think about it again until dark. I thought about it again at dark. I sat on the couch with my laptop, editing the day's shots, and I kept losing focus. The hallway was to my left, just past the bathroom wall. I couldn't see it from the couch, but I knew the geometry of where it was. The door at the end of it. The knob that had moved. I called my friend Renata, not because she would have useful advice. Renata once told me a ghost knocked her wine glass off a shelf, and it was the shelf that was warped, but because I needed to hear a voice, I told her about the hallway, the floor plan, Marcus's message. She said, "Did you open the door?" I said, "No." She said, "Open the door." I said, "What if there's something in there?" She said, "Then you'll know. It's worse not knowing. You'll be up all night." This was correct. She was right. I said goodnight and put my phone down. I stood in the kitchen for what felt like a long time. I poured a glass of water. I drank it. I looked down the hallway from the entrance. I could see the door from there, barely in the low ambient light coming through the apartment windows, the knob. I couldn't tell from that distance where the knob was positioned. I turned on the hallway light. There was a switch just inside the entrance, of course there was. The hallway had always been here, according to the apartment, and the light that came on was a single bare bulb on the ceiling. Not a fixture, just a bulb slightly yellowed. I walked down the hallway. The carpet was ordinary underfoot. The walls were close. I could touch both sides with my arms slightly extended, which I did not do. The door at the end was white, same as I'd seen. Old paint, layered over several previous coats, so that the surface had a slightly soft, uneven quality. The knob this is the part I have to say carefully. The knob was at the height you'd expect. Waist height, normal position. I stood in front of the door and I tried to remember with precision what I'd seen at 2 in the afternoon, and I could not make the memory sharp enough to be certain anymore. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe the light had done something. I put my hand on the knob. It was cold, not ambient cold. Not cold in the way that metal gets cold in an air-conditioned room. Cold in a way that moved up my palm. I turned it. The door opened inward, and beyond it was a staircase going down. I should tell you what I expected. I expected a storage area, or a utility room, or a back exit. Something mundane that explained the whole thing. Old buildings in Asheville have strange additions, converted everything. There would be a water heater down there, a circuit panel, something. The staircase was wooden. It descended about 16 steps. I counted them standing at the top. At the bottom was a room. I could see just enough in the light from the hallway bulb above me. Concrete floor. A single wooden chair in the center of the room, facing the staircase, facing me. There was nothing on the chair. There was nothing else in the room. No water heater, no shelving, no back door. Concrete walls, concrete floor, one wooden chair facing the staircase with the particular deliberateness of something arranged. I pulled the door closed. I went back to the couch. I opened my laptop. I told myself I would finish the editing and go to sleep, and in the morning I would check out early and call Marcus from the parking lot. I lasted about 20 minutes before I picked up my phone and searched the address. This is the thing about old buildings. They have histories that aren't attached to Airbnb profiles, local news archives, property records, the occasional forum post from someone who lived nearby and remembered things. I found a county assessor record showing the building had been owned from 1987 to 2003 by a man whose name I will not write here because I looked him up separately, and he is not a person I want to put my name adjacent to in any format. What I will say is that his name appeared in a 2001 court document. The document referenced the property. It referenced a sub-basement space. It referenced the chair, actually, a specific wooden chair described in the evidence log as centrally placed. He died before the trial. That was in the document too. The case had closed without a verdict. I stayed on the couch all night, with every light in the apartment on. Marcus called me Saturday morning at 7:15. Before I could say anything, he said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." I said, "Okay." He said, "Is the hallway back?" The way he said it. Not, "Is there a hallway?" Not, "I found out there's actually a hallway." "Is the hallway back?" I didn't answer for a moment. Then I said, "What do you mean back?" He was quiet. I could hear him breathing. He said, "I bought the property 18 months ago. It was renovated before I listed it. The contractors, they said they'd sealed it. They showed me the wall. There was drywall. There was paint." I walked that space a dozen times, and there was a flat wall where the bathroom ended. I said, "Marcus." He said, "I'm driving up. Don't open the door at the end." I said, "I already opened it." Another silence, longer. He said, "What did you see?" I told him, "The staircase, the room, the chair." He said, very quietly, "Was the chair facing the stairs?" I said, "Yes." He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said he was sorry. He said he genuinely hadn't known. He said the Airbnb was over. I would receive a full refund. He asked me to leave the building before he arrived. I asked him why. He said, "I don't know what happens when someone's in the apartment and I open that door. I don't want to find out with you still inside." I packed my gear in 40 minutes. I was in my car and 2 blocks away when I saw his truck pull onto the street in my rearview mirror. I have thought about this every day since. I had the refund. I had 16 products photographed. I filed no report because I did not know what I would report. I found a hallway. There was a chair. I read a court document that raised more questions than it answered. What I keep returning to is not the hallway, not the door, not even the chair facing the staircase, though I understand why that detail has settled in a place in my chest where it doesn't fully dissolve. What I return to is the knob that was lower in the afternoon than it had been in the morning, because a door that moves through walls is frightening in an abstract way. It belongs to the category of things you can't explain and therefore can almost dismiss. But a knob that descends is a different thing. A knob that descends is something that adjusts, something that accounts for the difference in height between one visitor and the next. I keep thinking about the wooden chair, facing the stairs, but placed for someone of a particular height to sit in and look up at whoever came through the door. Not placed for an adult. I will not say what I think that means. I think if I say it directly, it becomes a shape that lives somewhere I can't get rid of. I have kept it at the edge of the thought, just past the part of the sentence I'm willing to finish. Marcus never responded to my last message. I sent it 3 weeks after the trip. Just 2 words. Did it close? He read it. The receipt shows he read it. He did not reply. I've listed those 2 words as the worst answer I've ever received, the silence that followed them. Because if it had closed, if the drywall was back, and the paint was back, and the hallway was once again a flat wall at the end of the bathroom, I think he would have said so. I think he would have wanted to say so.